All right, demonstrating the debugger. We'll have start here. Set a breakpoint. Right click, toggle breakpoint. You can set as many breakpoints as you need. So we'll set a breakpoint initially here, and we'll trace into it. So start the debugger here. Okay. Remember my decision, switch to the perspective of the debugger. So again, Eclipse perspectives just means the arrangement of the general arrangement of the windows. So the debugger perspective looks like this. This is the line of code that's about to execute. So we see user has come into scope here, and it has been constructed. But C1 is null, so it has create character has not been called on it yet. Okay, so I could step over this function, meaning execute it, but don't step into it. Don't show the code. But this is step into. So you can also learn the keyboard shortcuts. If you learn the keyboard shortcuts for this, like F5 and that, I don't use them anymore because every keyboard shortcut for every development environment is different, and I can no longer memorize them. But if you're sticking in one debug environment, I advise you to learn the keyboard shortcuts because it's a lot quicker. So I traced into this create character method, and then I can trace into this actual constructor. Okay, actually that's actually common Java code there. Trace into the constructor. Oh, and I also should step out of. So I'm here now. It's going to call super. So we trace into that. We're going to see the person constructor, and if we trace into this, we'd see the constructor for its ancestor, which we haven't talked about yet. Its ancestor is object. This is step out of. That says continue to run the method, and this is this library code here for Java that I've stepped into here. It's not my code. This is object.classes. So I'm going to go ahead and step return here. I know it doesn't just skip out of this function. It continues to run it, but it's not going to illustrate it in the debugger. Okay. So now step into, step out of, and step over and step out of. We've demonstrated all of these too. So this would be execute a line at a time, but don't chest into it. Notice this catchphrase here. The object can be expanded here. You'll see the catchphrase is not set yet. It's set to null. That's here. It's about to happen right here. And it's set. You can see it over here using the variables window. Okay, so let's go back and look at the assignment again. Step into, step over, step return. We've done all three of these. Drop to frame. Drop to frame is... My mouse cursor is wiggling a little bit because recording is going on. I think this one's drop to frame. On your systems, the help should pop up. So drop to frame allows you to back up out of it and go backwards, back to the frame. Okay, so let's see drop to frame. This backs up to it, allows you to repeat operations, right? So if you miss something, you can drop to frame and repeat it again, right? I want to see that again. I don't quite understand, right? Okay. Drop to frame does not undo the variables that were set before, right? Notice that's not null anymore. It's already been set, but we drop to frame, and it just repeats the same instructions, but it doesn't change the variables back to what they were before. Okay, still useful. Okay, that's to drop to frame. So let's set another breakpoint. I will set a breakpoint here. Toggle breakpoint. So now I have two breakpoints, and if I just hit this is the next thing here is to resume to second breakpoint. So I can, if I've understood the code up to this point, and I say, okay, I want to run to the next breakpoint because I want to analyze that code. Then I hit this button here, and that'll run to the very next breakpoint that I've already set up here. Okay, run the next break. Basically, continue, resume. If I didn't have a breakpoint here, it would resume and complete the program, right? This is basically pick up where you left off, and if you encounter another breakpoint, go ahead and hit it. Okay, this is stop the debug process entirely, terminate. It's over here. That's nice to remember to do, which I never do, but because then they build up here if you don't do that. Here, okay. Skip all breakpoints. I don't know. Is that a button? I think it's over here. Skip all breakpoints. Let's see. Actually, I'm not quite sure. Oh, there. So you can basically disable your breakpoints. This would be, you're going to live in the debugger as a commercial developer. You live in a debugger, right? So you're debugging stuff and you're understanding the code. You're doing experiments. You may want to say, I want to run it flat out right now. I don't want to hit any breakpoints. You can end up with like 30 breakpoints, right? If you have a big problem you're trying to understand. So you say, okay, I want to run it straightforwardly. I want to leave my breakpoints in the code, but I'll skip them. So now I won't hit them anymore, right? And I can run the program through to completion. So that's what that does, right? That's over here too, by the way, in the tabs over here. So let's visit the tabs over here. Next, so we've disabled all the breakpoints. Go over here. Let's see, rename. Oops. I actually did not mean to do that. I'll stop that. Right here too, you can terminate and remove. I'll just hit this button here. Re-enable all breakpoints. You can disable breakpoints here individually as well, and leave them there. But essentially, look what they look like when they're disabled. They're hollow dots. So that's in case you're thinking, I might need that breakpoint later, but I don't want to hit it right now. So you can have let's say you had a list of 10 or 15 breakpoints over here. You could selectively select the ones you wanted to hit on this experiment, on this run point. Okay. So the next big section demonstrates the debug windows that are open on the right, the variables, the breakpoints, and the expression. We saw how the breakpoints work. You can delete them from here too, by the way. If you exit out, it'll delete them. If you want to get rid of it, you can re-enable them here, check them off again, and re-enable them. Various ways to manipulate that. You can see variables here. These are local variables typically. It's taking a while. Let's see, I think I've confused it. Maybe it's not running. Okay, and here, you say the local variables here. You can expand them out here. You can also do expressions, breakpoints. You can manage it here. I showed you that. Expressions here. You can add a new expression here. You can retype in one of the variables that you see over there. You can type in a logical or arithmetic expression if you wanted to see what that is. You can type in a Boolean expression. You can say it's false because it's not null. It's been set to something. Right? Null means that the object's not set to something. So that's the expressions window here. You can also let the mouse cursor linger over the variable and it'll pop up with the current value of it. The other thing that's nice to know about is I think the variables allows you to do this. Maybe not. Suppose you wanted to see, well, what happens if U is null? An experiment. U, right now it has this value, right? But what if I go over here? Oh, let's see if I can do it. I can set it to null, right? I've broken it now, I think. That one didn't update. Let's see if I get a null exception now. Yeah, I do. See, exception in main thread, because I nulled it out in the expressions window. In other words, I destroyed my object and then I tried to use it. Null pointer exception. Okay. I think that shows all the requirements of 6. Step into over then. Would anyone like to see anything again before we end this lecture? All right, it's 9:27. I think it's a good time to call the class, and thank you very much for attending. And definitely, if you have any questions on any of the assignments, contact me, please. All right.
All right. Good night.
All right. I'll post separately the entire lecture for tonight, and of course, I'll add this one up to YouTube. How to use the debugger demo. All right.
All right. Thank you.
And I'll
Thank
put
you.
links in the
Yeah,
class.
James, have a good one.
All right. See you guys. Thanks for the suggestion on this. That was useful.